Hello, and today we're doing a very brief review of Game Week 13 for my team. And I didn't think I was going to do it this way. I was going to probably do a match review, a Game Week review of 13 and 14 at some point in the week. But actually, I've thought might as well just do a small review of Game Week 13 and then a small preview of Game Week 14, just so it's a bit clearer now that the Game Week 13 games have finished. But obviously it'll be a bit up and down in terms of whether I do this the same for other midweek games, because it's pretty tight turnaround. But the point is, looking briefly at what our rank is. Now, I'm not sure if this is 100% correct, because fair play to Fantasy.Premier League, because they do update the ranks on the FPL website quite quickly, but I'm not sure it's 100% accurate. So do check out my Twitter. That is a FPL Yellow Army, so you can follow me at RobertoHollis9, and also my Instagram, Roberto_the_pro, because I don't know what my rank will be, but I'll put it in my bio, and eventually it will update ahead of Game Week 14's fixtures in midweek. But obviously, I'll be listening to all the pods, listening to the official FPL podcast on Monday, because the games come out on Tuesday, and I need to work out what transfer I'm actually making, because to be honest, I don't really know. But let's quickly, we should say, talk over Game Week 13. 13, unlucky for some and unlucky for me, unfortunately, with my transfers this week. I had a net loss in terms of what the points that I could have got if I'd have done nothing versus the transfers that I made. And look, you can argue I should have made better transfers, but there weren't a lot of options around my price brackets of players I wanted to sell. So I sold Bryan Mbeumo because I just had enough of him. And I've seen a lot of people reacting to Mbeumo after that Everton game, and they just want to get rid. So maybe I've jumped the gun in a good way there. So that's fine. I'm not really regretting that transfer because he didn't do anything again against Everton. But the issue I've got is the player I brought in, because I thought this was the guy. It was Conor Gallagher, and I thought he would soar. I thought he would really sing in terms of his place in my team, a bit like Liam, a bit like Noel. I thought he'd have the tunes, the fine tunes of those legendary Gallaghers. But no, not this week for me, and he just played really deep, and it's disappointing to see. And 2 points against a team like Villa, who obviously knew Gerrard manager bounce, but I just thought they'd be conceding goals. And I think a lot of people had Palace as favourites for that game. And look what happens. They concede, they lose 2-1, and Gallagher does nothing. But he did have promising moments in the game. I think he had a cross on the right, which he put into a good area, and it kind of rebounded between Konza and between... I'm trying to think who the other one now was. I think it was... Matty Cash, and on another day that could have been an own goal. Also, it was a bit frustrating the way the target goal went in, because Gallagher could have kind of closed it down a bit sooner. There was all kind of little niggles, and at times chances for points. Edouard came on and Gallagher slipped it through nicely, and Edouard straight into the arms of Martinez. So yeah, not ideal at all really. And of course this guy, I sell him the week he plays Man City. That dreaded week, he goes and gets a goal, I think, and an assist as well. And then, of course, the week that I bring him in, does nothing versus Villa. But we've got to keep the faith with him, because when I wasn't patient with him, then I was punished. So I think he's just kind of a set and forget now for a while, because he's a good option at that price. And, pre-Game Week 13, he was a really good move this week, especially with Bryan Mbeumo not showing the form. But my other transfer is the one that I regret, because you'd argue Brentford have been a bit shoddy, and that's why I wanted to get rid of them altogether. But Toney, off the back of that goal against Newcastle, did feel a bit more confident. And look, we had to target the defences a bit more. Everton have been poor, so I had to think about that a bit more. And I just thought, I'm tired of Brentford right now, so I'm going to move to a differential. And the reason I really did it was to get Gallagher. So you could argue in the long run it might help, but obviously for this week it kind of didn't, because not just the fact that other options, your likes of Emil Smith-Rowe and Bryan Mbeumo, who at least got the clean sheet point, even if they do blank and don't punish my Gallagher transfer, they outscore Conor Gallagher. You'd argue that it's a bit annoying, because it's even worse by keeping, you keep Toney because you think, okay, fair enough, he's on penalties and he's just scored. But I just didn't think he was involved enough. His underlying stats were still pretty poor. He wasn't taking enough shots on. And he's had a new role in the Brentford team. He's become the creator, putting on chances, a bit like for Jimenez at Wolves, putting on chances for Hwang Hee-chan, and just not really been racking up the opportunities. And of course, Ivan Toney, just like we sold him in Game Week 3, he got a return. It's happened again in Game Week 13, so very unlucky there. You know, it's just a pen merchant basically, and he probably wouldn't have got points other than that. But a really, really silly foul from Everton, and a bit of a feisty match, that one. But ultimately, not a lot of points. But it's just when it's a 1-0, you know that Tony's going to get the bonus points. So to miss out on a 9-pointer really stings. But it's not all bad, because unlike with Conor Gallagher, we did actually get a return with the other player we brought in to replace Ivan Toney, and that was Joshua King. So I'm pretty happy with him, because although he's differential, although he's, you know, a bit left field, he's really interesting coming up. He's in form, he's scored, he's got confidence in his veins. I'm not going to probably play him this week, but you'd argue that maybe we shouldn't play someone like, I don't know, someone in my midfield. So maybe King does play this week for my team, because he's fit and firing, even against the Chelsea team. But they did just concede, so they'll lack a bit of confidence. But ultimately, yeah, happy with King. He's on penalty duty, which is a big factor of why I went with him over Dennis. In hindsight, should I have gone with Emmanuel Dennis? Of course, but that was just a one game week punt. And look, this game week, of course, he got a goal and assist, Emmanuel Dennis. But I do think, even though he's more expensive, it was worth the 0.3, because King is a proven FPL asset over the seasons. Dennis is really, really good, but he can be a streaky player. I think Dennis is such great value, and he's certainly a good option. But, you know, with Dennis coming off with a knock in the Leicester game, you never know. King might be the man going forward that just starts to excel and starts to accelerate. And you've got to think that Dennis maybe will get taken off earlier, because when Sarr gets back from injury, we'll want to make the most out of him before he goes off to AFCON. And also, if you're playing in the number 9 role, you're going to get more chances. You're going to be straight in the middle of the action, where he could be switched out on one of the wings, Emmanuel Dennis. So that transfer, I think I'm quite happy with. But it's not that King was a bad transfer this week, because, as I said, got me a goal, differential move. It's just that he didn't outscore Toney, unfortunately, and the fact of selling Toney this week probably was a mistake. But it is what it is. We're not going to go back on that bandwagon, because, look, let's be honest, Toney did not do enough for me in the time that I owned him. But let's just quickly switch on to my team. It does say here 45 points. Ramsdale, 7 points. Now, this was a joke, right? FPL bonus system, I need to have a word with you, because they robbed me of a bonus point. He was on for it, and they said, I think, a post that said Ramsdale was looking likely to get the 1 bonus point. And out of nowhere, he doesn't get it. And I feel for Saka owners as well. He gets a goal in that game, looks fantastic, and doesn't get a bonus. But Ramsdale especially made 5 saves, and one of them outstanding to tip it onto the bar from Shelvey. And just get this, the Brighton Leeds game, which has less chances, right? Less chances and less goals. You think surely in a game where Newcastle are having shots and Arsenal are keeping a clean sheet because they've scored goals, but obviously Saka and Martinelli, right? They're good players, but they're not going to get all the bonuses, right? So some of them are going to go to Ramsdale, some of them are going to go to that Arsenal defence, and that's what happened. Gabriel and Tomiyasu. I think Tomiyasu might have got bonuses, but certainly Gabriel, right? Fair enough. But where is it coming from, Gabriel? Because what's he done in the game? And second of all, Ramsdale made some great saves. But then the Brighton Leeds game, where no attacking contributions. All right, you say fair enough, Lamptey played well, he deserved a bonus. Maybe the same with Cucurella, because he gets forward. But Sanchez, he had 2 saves that I can remember him making to deny, I think it was Tyler Roberts, one with the foot and one with, the arm or something. He had very little to deal with, because Brighton were having most of the chances. They were wasting them. So Sanchez makes 4 saves in that game, right? Fair enough, not too bad. It's a decent score of 7 points. But then they give him a bonus point when Ramsdale gets even more saves. He gets 5 and makes some unbelievable saves. And yet FPL's like, nah, I'm just not having it. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. I'm fuming about that. So that should have been 8 points. But 7 is still very good for our set and forget goalie. Cancelo, this summed up the game week. The clean sheet wipeout in the 95th minute. You've got to be joking. Joao Cancelo, no attacking in this game, and then a yellow card as well. It's disgusting from him. 9 points to Trent, though. It's the Trent train. He's so good. And once again, pops up with a corner assist. Van Dijk is an interesting one. A few people are having him. Fair play if he did. But even more importantly, fair play if he brought in Jota this week. I kind of thought about it, but it was too much of a stretch to push up. I didn't have much money in the bank, and I was making 2 transfers, so I couldn't really do it. I thought about it, but then it would have to be like a -8, and I wasn't prepared to do that. So maybe I should have got in Jota a few weeks back, but ultimately, right, we weren't sure about how good of an asset he was. He's done well against Arsenal and against Southampton. I'll think about it in the future, but it does kind of hurt my team structure to get him in. So we'll see how that one goes. James, 1 point. Really disappointing. He had a great game, I thought. You know, had chances, put in crosses, but gets a booking, and that's just the same as Cancelo. So last week, it was all about the fullbacks, and this week, it's really not been. It's been a really weird game week, and mainly just a lot of it surprises, really. No Chelsea clean sheet, not enough Manchester City contributions, obviously goals there, but Gundogan, not many people would own him. So it's a really difficult one. Rudiger as well, like obviously you have to back the Chelsea defence most weeks, and I think a lot of people would have played their 2 Chelsea defenders, but of course when I don't play the 2 Chelsea defenders against Leicester, in a game where Vardy could have easily scored, they get clean sheets and Rudiger gets attacking contribution, as does Reece James. And obviously we benched Rudiger for that game because we thought James would have more attacking threat, and we thought Leicester would score, and obviously they both get clean sheets. Rudiger gets 14 points, James 12. We're happy for the transfer in of James, but obviously this week when we think, okay, yeah, Man United, they're a mess right now, there could be a chance that this is a 0-0, we'll take the 12 points with the clean sheets. What happens? Jadon Sancho, who's, you know, fair enough, got confidence from the Man United goal against whoever it was in the Champions League, but you don't see that coming. You think Chelsea can get a win, fair enough, but no. To be fair, Rudiger was unlucky, right? He had a few chances, and one of them, really good effort, a really good shot, tipped onto the bar by De Gea, and that chance at the end, Rudiger easily could have scored that. So it's good to see these Chelsea defenders having attacking threat, but when there's a clean sheet wipeout for both of them, it does sting. You'd argue, though, it's worth the cost, because when there's a double clean sheet haul, then it's pretty nice, as well as the attacking returns. Mo Salah, now a lot of people not happy with him, because 6 points is very little, considering we know how much of a standard he sets, but look, it's another return, it's a captaincy return, we're going to take that at the end of the day, and it's in a low scoring week. The average, it says here, was 38, which is pretty low, but 45, look, I think I've survived the game week, but very little other than that. It is a red arrow, I'm afraid. I don't know how, because not many people did that much better, but you had a few people that were on like 40 to 50 points after Saturday, and you kind of thought, how has that happened? I think I was on 33 points after Saturday, which I was pretty happy with, but it was just a dreadful Sunday of FPL, and that included Bernardo Silva. So look, 2 points, right, against West Ham, disappointing stuff, and it's especially disappointing now that Bernardo Silva's now not become a differential anymore. So when I got him in for the Palace game, right, he did nothing, but I kind of kept the faith. Then I benched him v Man United, and he does really well. I played him v Everton. He did really, really well. I was happy for that to get his points before everyone else jumped on the bandwagon. And then West Ham was like, really? Like, this is the week he doesn't do it? It's just frustrating. Then you see Raphinha, 3 points. At least he gets a clean sheet point. But really, you'd have backed him for that fixture. The reason I didn't bring in a Brighton defender as well, I was thinking about it for game week 12 against Villa, was because I knew that Raphinha would play this week. So I was kind of like, I don't want to bet against myself. I honestly thought about Lamptey. And obviously, if I've gone with Lamptey over Rudiger, which I was thinking about the last couple of weeks, then I would have regretted that with Rudiger. But obviously, I still didn't play him last week against Leicester, so it is what it is. But it's a shame because Lamptey's got 2 clean sheets out of 2 in those games, and one of them obviously against Villa because he got subbed off before they started conceding. Lamptey's got so much attacking threat. He's one I've thought about, but I just think you've got to go with big at the back this season. 4 premium defenders is the way to go, and then Livramento, you just can't get rid of him. He's too much of a legend at this point in time. Gallagher, 2 points. We've mentioned about him already. Really, really frustrating. Josh King, we love to see that. Like, differential paying off is nice. Obviously, Dennis would have been better, but I think long term, King could be the man because he's done it against the big clubs for Bournemouth, and these are tough games. I appreciate that. I probably won't play him v Man City. Maybe v Chelsea. He's done it before with Bournemouth. I think it was 4-0 that Chelsea lost to Bournemouth, and King was in the goals. And also, you got to think that we're up for it usually against the teams in the Big Six. We beat Chelsea before 4-1, and Jamie Carragher said 4-1. You just can't lose 4-1 to Watford. But Man United did it, and Chelsea couldn't beat Man United. So I'm not saying we'll probably not do it, and we'll probably get battered on Wednesday. But still, Josh King, he's involved with chances, and look, good to see he's on penalty duty. But it's just interesting. If Dennis, obviously with his knock, he came off against Leicester, will he start? Will that mean King plays more of a role? I don't know, but we have got a bit of injuries defensively and in the midfield. So I'll be interested to see how we play against Chelsea. I think it's just have what we have. Let's see if we can kind of preserve the game, and obviously I've got Rudiger and James up against my striker there, so it's not the most ideal thing. Harry Kane, it's awful, right, when you get a game postponed, but it's even more awful when it's like literally a 30-minute difference for when the game kicks off. I was so ready to see Harry Kane score big v Burnley at Turf Moor. He loves playing there, and no, of course, Burnley can't be bothered to get a fully functioning under soil heating. And look, I get it, right? In the north, it's been absolutely unbelievable weather, and it's been snowing, it's been windy, it's been horrible. The storm has been awful this weekend, but you'd still think they'd be enough to, have enough investment to get that pitch sorted. I don't know. You feel bad for the Spurs because they probably would have thought that was a chance to get their season up and running after that good win against Leeds. It was a match that had an opportunity there. But I'm not going to cry about it because Antonio's going to come in for me once auto subs are combined. I kind of am quite happy because I was kind of regretting Antonio getting benched. In the end, it didn't materialise to anything. But on his day, Antonio can score against anyone. I saw a lot of people selling him this week. I think you want to keep him right now. It's a bit too late to sell him because the fixtures are quite good quite soon. And I've got a bit of value in him. He's got Brighton. I think he could destroy Brighton. I honestly do. Chelsea's going to be tough, of course. Burnley is really nice. And Arsenal, on their day, can be good. But Antonio can score, as I said, v anyone. And then you got a lovely run that you got to have him for. So it's just too late, I think, to sell him by now. But it's fine. He's a reliable man, to be honest. Livramento, so glad I benched him. Liverpool was so good. Livramento struggled, certainly up against the pace of Sadio Mane. And I'll be interested to see what Villa do going forward with Douglas Luiz, because he's just got a bit of a temperament problem, but he really doesn't matter for my FPL team. The 4.5 option, he did get originally a sending off, naughty boy, but I'm glad I put him third on bench. However, it got rescinded to a yellow card. It's just that he's kind of irrelevant at this point. Foster, though, didn't play due to a groin injury, so I'm glad I played Ramsdale. Hopefully it's not going to be a long-term ruling out, but I'm not going to really worry about my second keeper. Ramsdale is the man for that. So it says here 45 points, right? Let me just log into my... I think we're just going to check what the rank says here, but I honestly don't know, to be honest, if it's the same as the FPL website. I'm not sure if they've updated it that quickly. So, yeah, it says here 536549, which I'm not sure about. That would be a massive red arrow from my Gameweek 12 rank of 490,094. But look at that, the differentials. This is what we love to see. It's nice to have that. Antonio's coming in, obviously. Foster didn't play. It's not a great game week, to be honest, but we have beaten the average, so that's something to take from it. We're only 3 points, it says here, off the 500k mark, and I think we were about 10 points off 400k after game week 12. But then equally, we were like 20 points off game week of 500k. So there's very low margins, basically, between ranks. And it says here we're on an overall of 797 once Antonio gets subbed in. So it's not the end of the world, right? 104 points off top 10k is actually not that far away when you think about it. We've got quite a template team. That's why we brought in the differential of Josh King. I'm hoping over the next few weeks he will outscore Ivan Toney, who's just a bit of an up and down player, really. But with the fixtures, I really fancy Josh King to prove me good. But ultimately, yeah, it's not a great game week, I'll be honest, because we would have wanted a lot better. So yeah, it says here post subs 549k out of 536k, but I'm not sure if that's correct. It right here now says 501,633. So if we can damage limitation, if that is my overall rank, then I would not mind that at all. Even though it is a red arrow, it's not that big of a red arrow. It's just dropping by about 10k, as you can see there, from 490,094. So, yeah, as you can see, it's a bit of a difficult game week to kind of work out how it went wrong. It was just, we made good transfers in hindsight, but not in reality. And we've dropped sorry, we've dropped outside 500k for the moment. So look, we're not going to let it get us down. We have had 2 green arrows in a row, but we're still in around where we were. It's not a massive drop. So if we can just get back up into that kind of mid 400k in Game Week 14, that will be absolutely fine. We've got one free transfer. We used both our 2 free transfers last week. So a quick little talk about Game Week 14. I think Kane is going to be vice captain. I think Spurs, they'll look to be refreshed, obviously, after missing Burnley. And Brentford obviously did win against Everton, but I still think that there's chances there for Kane to do well. I think the double up for Chelsea in defence, I think it probably is a good strat because, like, we actually have been scoring goals recently, but you know we're up and down a little bit. Like, the problem for Watford is not our attack; it's our defence. But King is tempting, right? Do we play him in and do we put him in ahead of someone like Rudiger? Right? Is the double up against Watford too much? Probably isn't. But you'd argue someone like Bernardo Silva. I just don't know where to make a transfer, basically, because I'm going to keep Livramento. He's a kind of season keep just to sit on the bench. Douglas Luiz is just irrelevant. Don't need to change him. And we don't have a lot of money in the bank, right? I think we've got 0.4 in the bank. So, you know, there's not a lot of options. But I thought there would be if I kind of had any injuries going into Game Week 14. But not a lot of surface. So I will leave it there, people, for Game Week 14. I know that's not the most conclusive preview for Game Week 14. But it was more about a review of Game Week 13 in this video. And, yeah, not an ideal red arrow at all. But do go smash a like on it and comment your thoughts ahead of Game Week 14, the midweek action. And I did do a small little preview in Game Week 13's preview of Game Week 14. So if you missed that, check it again to get all your midweek previews. But thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.